Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Ling. I'm a journalist, author, and small business owner, and I'm delighted to welcome you all to the Intuit QuickBooks Small Business Success Town Hall. There is so much information that we're going to be conveying today, and I know that there's been so much tumult in the climate, so I'm sure many of you have so many things that you're interested in knowing. So we want to welcome all of the entrepreneurs and accounting professionals in our audience today. We want to also hear from you. So if you're joining us live, share your stories in the chat, which is in the second tab below the video player, or join us on Twitter using the hashtag #SmallBizSuccess. Now, as many of you know, the first week in May was National Small Business Week in the US. And this year, QuickBooks is celebrating your hard work throughout the entire month of May by creating Small Business Success Month. Today, we're going to focus on your success as well as the challenges you face, especially with access to capital, managing inflation, and improving cash flow. The Small Business Administration, known as the SBA, was critical to the survival of so many small businesses during the pandemic, and the work certainly continues. In 2021 alone, 5.4 million Americans applied to start a business, more than 20% higher than any previous year on record. Now, as a representative of the country's 32.5 million small businesses, we are so honored to welcome Isabella Casillas Guzman, the 27th Administrator of the Small Business Administration. Administrator Guzman, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Lisa. It's my pleasure to be here with you and our friends at Intuit QuickBooks. Alex, we look forward to conversation later. It's what's really important for all those entrepreneurs that are out there listening, as well as the small business support professionals, is that you need to know how much you power our economy and strengthen our communities. You are the giants in our economy, as I like to say, and it's been my pleasure to serve as the SBA administrator, especially during this critical time, to get critical COVID relief into the hands of so many small businesses to help them survive during this time. But less is told about that small business startup boom that you just referenced. That's also how small businesses are fueling our strong economic recovery. The U.S. has the fastest economic growth in decades and strongest job creation in modern American history, but there is more work to be done, and entrepreneurship is what's going to continue to power our economic surge, our building a better America. And I come from a small business family. I have an entrepreneurial dad, an entrepreneurial grandfather, and just as I learned from them, and you have to be agile, you have to be gritty, you have to use your ingenuity to make sure that you can continue to succeed, especially in the rapidly changing environment like we're facing now. And that's what the SBA is all about, is trying to be there for our entrepreneurs. We're the federal agency that's focused entirely on helping more Americans achieve the American dream of business ownership. And so it's great to be here with you to have this conversation.
Well, we really appreciate how accessible you are being. I'm sure those watching are so eager to hear your insights, and we'll also have some questions for you as well. So thank you. We are also thrilled to introduce Intuit's own Alex Chris. Alex is the Executive Vice President and General Manager of Intuit QuickBooks and a true champion for small business. Alex?
Well, thank you, Lisa, and thank you for joining Administrator Guzman. It's great to have you here, and welcome to the 7,500 small businesses and accounting professionals that are joining us today. Running a small business is challenging in the best of times, and when times are uneven, it gets even harder. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing your questions, the challenges that you're facing, and hopefully coming up with some good solutions for all of you to take back to your businesses throughout this hour.
Well, as Alex just mentioned, so many people registered for this event and submitted questions, and we're going to try to answer as many of your questions as we can in this hour or throughout the month on the QuickBooks blog. So let's start with the basics. Administrator Guzman, for folks in the audience who are just starting their entrepreneurial journey, what does the Small Business Administration even do?
I think before the pandemic, we were called the best kept secret in government. And that, of course, was extremely sad for many of us who are long time committed to helping small businesses. But now more is known through our incredible COVID relief programs. But basically, we're the agency that helps Americans start, grow, and build resilient businesses, and also supports the recovery and resilience of communities that they serve in times of disaster. We focus on the core elements of entrepreneurial success, the access to capital, the funding for your business, whether that's loans or investment capital or even non-dilutive grants if you're an innovative startup or a technology firm with an innovation that the federal government might fund. And we do it through a distributed network. We also focus on market access and revenue creation, and have a network of advisors across the country to help small businesses pursue revenue growth opportunities, whether that's through federal contracting, as we direct small business spend of the federal government, or perhaps through growing in marketplaces outside your community through e-commerce, and e-commerce as a pathway to global trade as well. Our advisors are all about trying to help you position your business and grow your business, and so we ensure through these private-public partnerships a network of capital providers, a network of advisors to help you with your business. And I think we like to see ourselves as gap fillers. There's so many times that entrepreneurs face no in the marketplace, and that's the reality. And to get to yes, the SBA is there to back our private sector partners to better help them support our entrepreneurs in their great efforts. And during the pandemic, of course, everyone knows we scaled dramatically. We were a little agency, and now we have this massive new platform and ability to reach our small businesses, and are excited to do so.
Well, on that note, the last couple of years have been ones with tremendous change and tumult, as I mentioned earlier. So what's your perspective on the current challenges that small businesses seem to be facing?
Mm-hmm. Coming from an entrepreneurial family and having started my own businesses, worked with entrepreneurs throughout my whole life, I've really been passionate about trying to get out there and talk to small businesses. I've visited 30 states as well as Puerto Rico, our territory, just to make sure that I'm in sync and understanding what the needs of our small businesses are. My goal is for SBA to meet you where you are with services that make sense, that are simple to navigate. And I think that right now, obviously, there's capital challenges are always first and foremost for businesses, and especially when seeing me, the SBA, the federal government, in terms of the types of programs we offer. But small businesses, despite this great economic recovery, are facing the tailwinds of the pandemic, the inflationary pressures that they're seeing in their businesses. Cost of goods for so many of their items has just skyrocketed, as well as just supply chain disruption. And President Biden is really committed. He's been very clear that tackling inflation is one of his top domestic priorities, and he's trying to ensure that we can lower costs for families and small businesses, and that is something that we're working on. But on an everyday level, the SBA is trying to make sure that businesses have the capital to navigate these challenges, have the advisory network to try to navigate these challenges, and also to take advantage of the opportunities, because as we're investing in supply chain, domestic supply chain with Made in America initiatives, we know our small businesses create a lot of the products that we depend on every day. And so we want to make sure that they also have the resources to take advantage of the opportunities on the horizon, or those that are presented in the bipartisan infrastructure law, as we're investing in infrastructure projects around the country and want our small businesses to take advantage of those contract opportunities that the federal government has or that we're funding locally. So we know that there are also challenges with workforce, and that's what our small business development centers, our women's business centers, our SCORE partners do every day, is work with small businesses to help them strengthen their business to deal with these challenges.
Alex, I want to ask you to jump in on this as well. What are you hearing from QuickBooks customers about the challenges that they're facing?
I get the opportunity to talk to dozens of small businesses every week, and over the last few weeks and months, certainly inflation and rising costs have risen to the top of what people are talking about. But if I really pull back and reflect on what do you do with that? What do you do with the concerns that you hear about inflation and rising costs if you're a small business? What it really boils down to is cash flow. And cash flow is what we've heard from small businesses as their number one challenge for for years now. And to simplify it, it's about the things we focus on: money in, the basics of how do you get paid as fast as possible? How do you get paid for the work that you've done? Money out, how do you hang on to the money you have as long as possible? How do you ensure you have money in the bank to make payroll or new channels of growth? And then access to capital when you need it the most. There's always going to be a time of crisis. The margins that small businesses run on are so tight that any bump in the road can cause a business to really, really struggle. And so we want to make sure that our customers and our businesses have access to capital when they need it the most. So inflation and rising costs just exacerbate the cash flow challenges that every small business faces, and those are the things that we're focused on as well.
And I really want to get into that more with both of you, inflation and cash flow issues. But first, Administrator Guzman, it's Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month this month. It's a really important month to me, and so many of these businesses had just hit so hard, particularly hard during the pandemic. So what has the SBA been doing for AAN, HPI, small businesses? And what's the SBA doing for other underserved and underrepresented small businesses?
Mhm. Equity is key in the Biden-Harris administration. I think President Biden is in particular very sensitive to this. We talked about it when he first nominated me, that access is one challenge, but even just connection at a core level to underserved communities, including those in the AA and HIPI community, but all of our underserved businesses, whether that's rural or low income or other people of color and women. Actually, during National Small Business Week, I kicked off my week in San Francisco and Chinatown and visited with a lot of the small businesses, as well as our funded advocates on the ground who help small businesses deal with these daily challenges. And in particular, they continue to call out that connection with key and it's beyond that. It's having the language competency, the cultural competency to truly meet businesses where they are. We know that the face of entrepreneurship is changing. It's women are starting businesses at high rates, and people of color. And so we want to make sure that our services, our products really serve them authentically, so that we can help them do what we need them to do, and that's create those jobs and achieve those revenue goals so that they can create the output that our economy needs. And so, with equity being such a cornerstone, the president signed an executive order on equity, racial equity, and gender equity day one, and challenged all of the agencies to look at all of our portfolio products and services to make them equitable. So at the SBA, we're doing the same, and it's across our capital programs, expanding our networks, our distribution networks, simplifying our products for our lenders as well as our borrowers, so that they can be more accessible to more, and ensuring that there's equity and revenue opportunities that we, especially when it comes to government contracting, where we've seen disparity and where we need more businesses to participate to strengthen our industrial base at the federal level. So we really want to make sure that those connections are built. And the President's American Rescue Plan funded a community navigator pilot program where we funded 51 grantees, local organizations, who then partnered with over 440 local, even more hyper-local spokes, as we call them, hubs and spokes, who then can authentically connect to these communities, whether it's A and HPI or Latino or African American or veteran or rural. US PAC Education Foundation is one of our national navigators. And so we're now able to build these bridges to our entrepreneurs so that they're not left behind in the future, and they can understand those resources that are available and get quick connections. I think that's what's really key, is making sure that all of our entrepreneurs are armed with the same intel, knowledge, access, so that they can have that opportunity to succeed. It's all about leveling the playing field.
It's heartening to know that there's such an emphasis being placed on underrepresented businesses by the federal government. Alex, I want to ask you, what are some of the things that QuickBooks is doing to help these underrepresented businesses, especially the smallest of the small, like those businesses with less than 10 employees?
Yeah, so let me hit on a couple of things. One, just following up on the equity point that the administrator was hitting on. For us, we have such breadth of data over the millions of customers that we serve that we actually feel like leveraging the technology, leveraging our data science, we can make data be a real equalizer for businesses. Our capital product now looks at a 360-degree view of your business, of the connections you have, of the network, and gives you access to capital in a way that others traditionally might not have been able to. And it's because we're able to see data and connections that you have, not just the potential of who your customers may be in the future. And so we're really leaning into data and technology to help all businesses get access to the services, the products, and the capital that they need. The second point, because you asked the question specifically around the smallest of small businesses, every small business that's trying to grow, at least in the conversations that I've had and in my own small business that I was starting, you misunderstand the value of your own time. And so we're spending a lot of our effort figuring out how to automate some of the most basic mundane tasks that you have to do in order to run your business. Some of them are just compliance tasks that are required, but they're not desired. And they're not the things that you want to spend your time doing when you can go out and be finding new customers or delighting the customers that you have. And so anything we can do to put time back into your pocket so that you can help run your business and we can help automate the services that you need to do, I think helps you not have to go hire an entire staff of people just to run your basics. You can hire people to actually go delight customers.
Well, you bring up a really interesting point. I mean, with technology ever changing, Administrator Guzman, how do you think companies like Intuit can partner with the SBA to really help these small businesses leverage these digital tools that are available to them to really access capital in a more inclusive way?
Well, I hate to put Mike on the spot here, but we have launched a small business digital alliance at the SBA, partnering with large corporations as well as those who provide digital tools for our small businesses. That includes, not only on workforce challenges, operational efficiencies, digital marketing, and e-commerce and payment solutions. And we recognize that small businesses have had to adapt during the pandemic in particular, and those businesses polled 3 and 4 said that they increased their use of digital tools during the pandemic. And we think that's an incredible positive because it can improve your operational efficiency, as Alex was referencing, as well as giving you access to capital that you may not have been able to. SBA is trying to power that network to provide free tools and free trainings and free resources to small businesses through its digital alliance. And so we've just kicked that off, and we'll be continuing to grow that. But beyond that as well, I mean, I think that the financial literacy is another area that I think that we can partner really strongly. I was really taken aback in many cases how challenging it was for many businesses, especially our smallest of the smaller, underserved, to be ready to access those COVID relief funds in the early days. They didn't have enough of their core information, financial information ready to go. And so that really prohibited them from being able to access early relief. And so we need to catch up on that for many communities and make sure that they have their financial situation in order. And that also will unlock opportunities for them. I did actually speak with numbers of businesses that were fearful of even taking a forgivable loan through the Paycheck Protection Program, or a very low cost economic injury disaster loan that was 30 years, 3.75% fixed. And it's this knowing of when you're ready to take on capital, when a growth opportunity for you, warrants taking capital to finance it. And so I do believe that there's a lot of work to be done in this space, and I look forward to Intuit's leadership and others in this sector to really take on the charge of working with small businesses alongside the SBA to really help more of them get ready, get capital ready, know when to be capital ready, as well as take digital to a next level. And the SBA recognizes that is with technology companies as well as through our expanded network and the Paycheck Protection Program, that we were able to reach more businesses than ever before. And we're continuing to try to see how we can get creative and partnering with these technology companies within our core programs. And a great example is the Restaurant Revitalization Fund program, where we partnered with Aloha, Toast, and Square and Clover, the point of sale vendors in the industry, to make sure that their data could be used when applying to the Restaurant Revitalization Fund program. We want to continue to try to build up those partnerships with Intuit and others.
Well, in speaking of the Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP, Alex, QuickBooks worked really closely with the SBA during this time to really help small businesses access PPP funds. How are you continuing that mission?
That time, if you just think back to the moment that the pandemic hit and, the world really froze, was one of the most challenging times, within, my group here at Intuit QuickBooks. We stopped everything we were doing, and we focused everything on ensuring that our customers, which are really the smallest of small businesses, could get access to that Paycheck Protection Program. I'm very proud we put $1.2 billion into the hands of small businesses in the partnership with the SBA. I think it saved over 250,000 employees that were able to continue on payroll. And just to build on where the administrator was going, for us, this was all about leveraging data and leveraging the technology to give those businesses the opportunity to get access to those funds immediately. So we had all the data needed and necessary to be able to apply for those loans.
Well, in the latest QuickBooks survey, more than 2/3 of consumers say that small businesses need more support from government programs. So, Administrator Guzman, where should small businesses be looking to find the resources that you all have to offer?
Most definitely, and I think we want to, turn the corner. Obviously, the COVID relief programs are no longer available, whether that was Paycheck Protection Program that closed last year, or the COVID Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program that also has closed, and our specialized grant programs. And while COVID relief programs are closed, SBA also offers affordable capital and technical assistance that we think is invaluable to help businesses improve their efficiency and grow their revenues. So we want to do a better job at really trying to help connect those small businesses to the SBA through broader distribution networks and through simpler products. We recognize, as I mentioned earlier, that connection is really key. And so we are trying to expand our public-private partnerships, like we've done through the Community Navigator pilot program at the SBA. But it goes beyond that. I mean, we really want to make sure that that the learnings from PPP, which was simple product that was a win-win for a broader lender network. We went from just over 1,000 lenders to over 5,000 lenders like Intuit helping us with PPP. We want to get to that again. And so we're really focused on making sure that the SBA can evolve and really meet this moment of the future where more small businesses, especially smaller entities and sole proprietors, not your typical SBA borrowers, can have access to our program. So, of course, building your team, going to the SBA.gov to get connected to local resources. We have 68 district offices, over 1,300 resource partners that we fund, those centers that I mentioned, women's business centers, veterans, small business development centers, SCORE partners, and then plus our community navigators ready to support our small businesses. And we have capital providers that are not only the banks and the credit unions, but also the nonprofit mission-based lenders that we're in the process of expanding right now, and we'll continue to look at ways to expand that network. But I think starting with SBA.gov, making sure that you know what's on the ground locally for you, because SBA has great resources. When I travel the country, I think what small businesses tell me more than anything is that they were so glad to have found and discovered the SBA resources and how transformational it was, but also that I need to get the word out and tell more people what great resources are available so that they can help their businesses grow.
Can you quickly touch on the work that's being done on forgiveness across loans?
Yes, I mean, that was a priority when we walked in. We wanted to make sure that we could deliver on the promise of forgiveness, and especially for our smallest entities. And so, we immediately launched a technology tool to help our lenders who maybe didn't already have the systems in place, and have worked with over 1,400 lenders to use SBA's streamlined portal for borrowers 150,000 and under. We walked in and there were about 2 million forgiven loans, and now there are less than 2 million of the 11.4 million loans left to be forgiven. We are prioritizing at every turn, partnering with our lenders and partnering with our businesses to make sure that they can complete their forgiveness process.
Thank you for that. Alex, can you talk about what is next on the fintech side?
Of course, for me, I believe fintech has the opportunity to really level the playing field for small businesses. And there's two things I think about there. One, the most common question I get when I talk to small businesses and the challenge that they face is, I just need to know where I stand. And that's what we really strive to provide with QuickBooks. Just tell me how my business is doing. I just need to know what is the money in, what is the money out, where do I stand? And so we've invested a lot in the technology and the data to be able to actually give you a cash flow prediction model. So our customers now can look 90 days into advance, so they can see, hey, 14 days from now, I'm going to have a struggle in making payroll. What are the options that I have? What is the suggestions that you have for me to be able to make sure that I can get there? And that being able to look into the future and be able to make the changes necessary to keep your business thriving is really, really important. The second one where I think fintech can really help is just in speed of money. Right now, when you send an invoice out, and it's a paper-based invoice or it's an emailed invoice that you're expecting a check, on average, it's taking 60 days to get that money back. That float for a small business is just so painful, because most often you've already paid to do the work. You've paid yourself, you've paid your vendors, you've paid your employees. And so to wait 60 days to get the money coming in is just absolutely devastating. If you send a payment-enabled invoice, that comes down to 19 days. So a huge improvement, but 19 days is still a long time to wait. And so we've been innovating, and I'm proud of what our teams have done. We've put out really best in class only offering in the market, get paid upfront offering, where if you qualify, you actually get access to your capital the moment you send the invoice. And for us, we believe that is the opportunity for small businesses to now play offense, to take that capital that they're getting paid for and help grow their business, fund their next projects, bring on their next customers. So cash flow prediction and fast access to the money that you already are owed.
Yeah, the technological innovations that you just talked about, I mean, they really just can be so transformational and game changing for businesses, and as you said, can really level the playing field once you get it down, right? We now have time for some audience questions, and we have questions that are coming directly from today's registrants, starting with Kristen from Nevada, and she has a question for Administrator Guzman. Take it away, Kristen.
Hi, my name is Kristen Adams, and I'm the president of AccuGrading and Paving in Las Vegas, Nevada. My question for you today is, what are the most frequent questions that you get asked and the most frequent mistakes that small businesses make? Also, are there any misconceptions that small businesses have regarding getting an SBA loan that you can dispel for us here today? Thank you very much.
That's a great question. Thank you so much. I frequently get asked, for connection. I think in understanding who the local resource partners are on the ground, or who the local lenders are who can help somebody who's a startup, who doesn't have a lot of history, or who may not have the financial wealth to be able to get a traditional bank loan. And so, I think building awareness of the resource partners and the lenders that are on the ground that are funded and backed by the SBA and the federal government is probably the most frequent. And that's why we launched the Navigator program, is because we know that not every business has that accountant to ask, or a lawyer to call up and ask, especially those smallest or sole proprietors. And so we wanted to help build bridges to those communities in particular with the Navigator program. And I think when it comes to the mistakes, I think the only devastating mistake a business can make is believing that they can or have to do it alone, and that that they can actually seek help and get out there and meet with networks that are either fellow business owners themselves or advisors who have been working with small businesses for quite some time to really help them avoid some of those smaller mistakes that can be devastating as well to their businesses cumulatively. So it's really important that learning about the resources that are available, that's probably a one big mistake to avoid so that you can build your team. And I think, now SBA, 3 years ago is maybe a different question, different statement now than what misconceptions are out there. I think SBA historically has been challenging to deal with just because it's a slower process. There's more requirements around getting a guarantee of the federal government to back your loan, and that's what we are trying to work really hard right now to change. And I think that demonstrated in some of our later COVID relief programs, we are actually reversing some of those problems to make our products simpler, more flexible for the end borrower, as well as simplify underwriting. And so with, of course, our direct lending model, COVID idle, we made some transformative changes to how we determine eligibility so that we could open up the program to more. And we intend to do that, or in the process of undergoing a full regulatory reform to make SBA products more borrower friendly, customer friendly. And then in addition, we're working every day to make sure that all of our policies around our programs can be more beneficial to the lending networks that we support. I mean, we want more lenders to be on the ground with our small businesses. We know that less than 40% of businesses get their funds from a bank, and more likely, if you're African American, you're probably going straight online for that loan. And we want to make sure that the SBA is there with options that are affordable for businesses and can help direct them to the lenders that are out there that are providing affordable capital, reasonable capital to grow your business.
Such important information, especially for first-time business owners. Our next question comes from Darren from Pennsylvania, and he wants to ask Alex, for small businesses that are starting out, what are the best avenues to ensure consistent cash flow and make a profit?
Well, Darren, it's a good question. First, I'd just ensure that you nail the basics from the beginning. So the things we've talked about, cash flow, make sure that you've got a good understanding of where you stand, your money in and money out. Make sure you've got those tools and services to free up your time so that you're focused on growing your customers and bringing those customers forward. And then the thing that I talk to small businesses a lot about, and it's one of the real reasons that we brought MailChimp into the Intuit family as well, is foster those early customers, those early wins. They are going to be your biggest advocates. And so often I hear from small businesses that they're chasing the next customer and the next customer, the next customer and the next customer, which is critical. But leverage and foster those relationships with your early adopters and your early customers. And there are tools like a MailChimp where you can automate that. You can create those ongoing emails or text messages or reminders to check in and say, hey, is there something else you need from me? Are there more things that I can help you with? And so often when I talk to customers, they remember that they've written down, oh yeah, I need to follow up with so-and-so in their notebook, but that notebook is now 10 pages beyond where they are right now, and it just becomes off the top of mind. And so continue to foster those early customers. They're the ones that you will grow your business on.
Thanks, Alex. We now have a question from another Alex from New York. Here he is.
Hi, my name's Alex Sable, and I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for Elite Gaming Live. We're an esports and STEM learning program for kids. I'm based in Brooklyn, New York. So as a growing business, we don't have enough credit history or a high enough credit score to qualify for some loans, which really impacts our ability to access the capital that we need to grow. My question is, does the SBA have programs that provide capital to businesses or individuals without a long credit history, with low credit, or that don't require personal guarantee?
Administrator Guzman?
I mentioned earlier that we're an agency that tries to help get to yes for more businesses. We want to fill those gaps, and we know that startups in particular have large capital gaps. And that, of course, is an equity issue for us as well in terms of the types of businesses that are starting today. And so, financing startups without an SBA guarantee is difficult for a lot of lenders. And we're working on regulatory changes. I sort of hinted to that a little bit earlier, so that all of our lenders can benefit from that guarantee to be able to better support small businesses out there. And so some of the things we're looking to do are standardizing some best practices around originated automated scored loans. In addition to credit scoring, we can offer that technology. Alex talked about technology, fintech earlier, but being able to utilize tax data and calculate cash flow. So if your credit score is low or non-existent, then we can enable our lenders to still have the federal government behind them on that guarantee and benefit from that, but be able to offer up to $50,000 working capital loan, without that guarantee. So we are with the guarantee, but without some of that, personal asset behind it. And so we really want to be as flexible as possible to help encourage this small business boom that we recognize is so critical to our economy. We want to continue to create more success outcomes, and capital is really critical. Of course, the revenue side is important, but oftentimes a small business will get that what should be that golden ticket contract or that great deal, but not have the capital to finance it. And that's where we really want to try to solve that market inefficiency, so that more of our small businesses can pursue growth opportunities, get the capital that they need, and start to create those jobs and create our global competitiveness, frankly. And that's what we're leaning on heavily at the SBA, is transforming our products and our distribution networks to achieve that.
Well, so many new businesses, they wrote to us asking for tips on how they can increase the success of their new business. In fact, 50% of small businesses surveyed said building awareness and marketing was a barrier to success. So I have a question now for Alex about reaching out to customers. Here's Jamal.
Hi, my name is Jamal Grace, and I'm the founder and creative director here at Grace Love Candle Co., located in Sterling, Virginia. I do a lot of social media to tell people about our candles and other home fragrance products, but I'm always looking for new ways to increase awareness about our business. What are some ways that new businesses can increase our clientele? Thank you.
I hear this question all the time, and it's again one of the big reasons that we brought MailChimp into the family, because getting customers and growing your business is so important. So two thoughts for you. One, you have to expand across social channels. I was talking to a customer last week who actually had a background in social, and she believed TikTok was going to be the answer for her growth, and it was doing well. And almost by accident, she put a basic YouTube video out on YouTube, and it took off like crazy. And now she's seeing 90% of her customers coming through YouTube, something she would not have predicted at all. And so you just don't know which channel is going to work. And in this environment, we know that everyone's omni-channel. You have to be looking at all the different social channels. You have to be selling across multiple channels. You have to just be out there because that's where customers will find you. Second thought is you can actually leverage technology to find customers that are more targeted. Social sometimes feels like you're just shouting into the ocean. One of the things that we spend a lot of time leveraging our data on is actually finding lookalikes. So once you understand who your best customers are, what are the ones that are delivering the best profit or the best ROI for you, you can leverage technology like ours to be able to find lookalikes so that you can target with very specific marketing programs or spend in different channels customers that look exactly like your best customers. So leverage the technology, leverage the different channels, and I hope you'll find growth.
Great. We have a question from Norma, who's run her business for 7 years and is ready to expand, but she says she needs additional training. And she asks, what opportunities should small businesses be on the lookout for in this economy? Administrator?
Thanks for that, Norma. And I'm not sure what kind of business you operate, but I'll talk about a few opportunities from our perspective and where we feel that the SBA can really be helpful to small businesses. I think, as the president talks about this bipartisan infrastructure law or Made in America opportunities, we see those as revenue growth opportunities for our small businesses, and want to make sure that we're front in line, making sure that those small businesses can access those contracts or those opportunities. And so, first and foremost, we want to make sure that you can get ready to do contracts, either B2B or B2G, and our networks help you get certified if you're a certifiable small business or underserved entity, and we want to make sure that you're ready with the capital, etc. So I would encourage you to visit a district office of the SBA to connect with their business opportunity specialists who have insights into the types of contracts, the types of businesses that the federal government contracts with. I mean, frankly, we buy everything from flowers to weapons. And so there's a full spectrum of opportunities to do business with the federal government. And we're in the process with the President's Equity and Procurement Initiative to make it easier. We've seen a decline in small business contracting, and we're trying to reverse that by changing policies to make it easier to do business with the world's largest buyer, which is the U.S. federal government. And then in addition, though, I think that, for all businesses, whether you're B2B, B2G or not, the e-commerce as a pathway to market expansion and including growth through global trade, I think is such a huge opportunity on the horizon, especially as so many businesses have adopted technology and so many companies like Intuit are out there trying to help make sure that you can be successful in this space. And we've seen e-commerce grow over the course of the pandemic, and we want to try to keep those numbers up as we believe it creates an opportunity to become one of those mini multinationals that once you're online, you might be trading to many markets abroad, and that's what research shows. And so we actually have export specialists to try to help small businesses focus on trade, but just at the core, partnering with our Small Business Digital Alliance and great companies do it to make sure that you're positioned on e-commerce and in marketing your business online to be successful online in that space is really important. And of course, once it comes to trade and actually starting to go overseas, SBA actually has grants through states to fund your business and trade shows, fund your website, and getting it developed and market specific, language, either language competency or other cultural competency. So we hope that you seek out the SBA for your international expansion opportunities as well. And I think that, obviously with the small business boom and those 5.4 million people who decided to start a business last year, they do see opportunity and as well as some of it may have been necessity, but there's also opportunity, and we want to make sure that small businesses have the capital that they need. And if I could, I know I'm going long, but there's just a follow up on Alex's question from previously. I think for all of these opportunities, you're going to need capital. Know that we have an expanded network of mission lenders that we've recently expanded as well, and SBA.gov/lender match connects you to those mission-based lenders that you may not know about in your local community. They're not on every corner, but can actually provide technical assistance and resources to especially those underserved startups or others who don't have the traditional bank profile to get a loan.
Administrator Guzman, I know you have to go soon, but very quickly, could you just touch on inflation? Because I know that there are a lot of people who are concerned about how inflation is going to affect their businesses.
Well, I mean, we've seen it, for multiple months now, small businesses having to deal with higher prices of their goods and trying to figure out what would make sense in terms of any price adjustments that they might have to make, obviously. That's a really sensitive issue in terms of client retention. And so it takes you back to a couple of the core skill sets that we've referenced throughout this session, and that's really having a strong, financial modeling strategic plan to be able to know and adjust quickly in the marketplace to, to any factors, inflationary pressures on your cost of goods sold or operating costs. And I think, having strong financials to tell you where you're at in your business quickly is really critical, first and foremost. And then number two is being able to have that strong client relationship, those strong relationships with your marketplace to make sure that you're being sensitive to their price sensitivities and can create a strong business model that will succeed. I think those two things are really critical, and where small businesses have to increase through technical assistance, through great corporate partners, their knowledge in that space so that they can compete. I mentioned that the president is really committed to trying to address inflation. Part of it is, of course, making more in America, expanding our supply chain here, improving our infrastructure to prevent those delays and those costly, higher costs as a result. And so, obviously looking at dealing head on with some of those unfair pricing issues by working with industry directly. And so I think that, as time goes on, some of those are longer term solutions, but on an immediate basis, small businesses who have to make these decisions on a daily basis need to be equipped and ready to respond in the marketplace.
Well, thank you, Administrator Guzman. You've been so generous with your time. We really appreciate your insights. And again, there's so much information that you can find out about if you just go to sba.gov. Any final thoughts you want to share before you have to jump off?
Well, just that, I know that many of you have had some interaction now with the SBA through our partners or directly as a result of the COVID relief programs that we've been able to administer. Over $1.2 trillion in relief has gone out to our small businesses and nonprofits through the SBA. And we're really excited to retain those relationships and work with you to make sure that we can give you products that serve you in the type of environment that you're having to navigate today. There are extensive resources available to you, so I encourage you to use those free resources available to small businesses through the SBA. And thank you so much, Lisa and Alex, for including me in this conversation and for the work that you're doing to get our message out and the resources available to small businesses.
Well, thank you again for taking the time, Administrator Guzman. Good luck, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Alex, you have the floor now. What's the last thing that you want to share with the small business community that we have gathered here today?
Well, Lisa, if I think back to sort of 1999, 2000, I was running a technology startup, and it was my first business. I wasn't quite sure what I was doing. Times were getting tough in the world, and I never felt more alone and isolated. I can still sort of viscerally feel what it felt like to be paralyzed, lying on my floor in my office thinking, how am I going to make payroll in 2 weeks? And that stress and isolation and that feeling is something that drives me personally in the role that I'm in today, to make sure that small businesses never feel that way. And the message that I have, to the small businesses is you've got 7,000 people inside of this organization at Intuit that wake up every morning, jumping out of bed, inspired by you, inspired by the work that you do to power the economy, to power employment. And we are here for you. We are here to help you, and you're not alone. And so just know that it's hard. You've chosen a path that is challenging, and we see that, and we recognize it, and we're inspired by it, and we're here with you on that journey as anything we can to help you be successful and live out your dreams.
Thank you, Alex, for sharing those heartfelt thoughts. That certainly has resonated with me today, what you and Administrator Guzman have been saying about not feeling like you are alone, because I think especially for people for whom this is their first foray, it's terrifying. And knowing that they have access not only to other business owners, but to the federal government, that they're, by taking the initiative and looking at what there is being offered, they can often find relief. And so that is, I think, very helpful information. So thank you for sharing that. And thank you to all of the entrepreneurs who've joined us today. Keep the conversation going, please, on Twitter using the hashtag SmallBizSuccess. If you want more information on how to succeed as a small business, click the link below to check out the Small Business Success Hub at QuickBooks.com. And while you're there, download the Success Month Scrapbook, which is a collection of stories about small businesses that are really inspiring and so informative. You can always find me on Twitter at Lisa Ling or on Instagram at Lisa Lingstagram. And I want to again thank you all so much for joining us today. Here's to your continued small business success.